Okay, good morning, everybody. I wanted to start this out, and I've got to be very careful how I explain some things here, just because I've been um, being watched. and especially with some of the things I'm going to share this morning. So, just to kind of update, I had mentioned this over on Telegram. I'm not sure if all of you are connected with Telegram or not. And but I had mentioned a story that had occurred a few days ago. So I had family up, Sandra's family up, these past few days, staying at the resort, and so I heard a story from Sandra's sister about the whole magnetizing scenario from the jab. And so I had read about it, I had heard about it, I had seen some things on it, but thing of it is, and it's true, but you always want to be able to hear firsthand. You want to see it. You want to see firsthand accounts of it. And so I had was talking with a sister-in-law, and she shared with me of certain situations that had occurred with people that she knows that had done the magnet test, and they had put stuff on, magnets and so on their skin of where they had gotten the jab on their arms and so on. And so this was from the one jab that starts with the letter P. And so at my place of employment, we had employees who had gotten the jab with the jab that starts with the letter M. And so I was curious to see if the same results would occur um, with that type of jab from that type of company. So the following day, I was at work, and I went up. I saw a little magnet that was on the refrigerator, and I brought it into the administrator, and I asked the administrator. I said, "Hey, this is what talking with my sister-in-law. This is what had apparently occurred with individuals who had gotten this particular jab. I'd like to see if anything happens with you." Of course, the administrator sneered at me and thought, "Oh, good Lord, Jesse, would you just stop with this stuff?" That was basically the look. So the administrator grabbed the little magnet and stuck it on their arm, and it just slipped off, and she just kept doing it. And it's like, okay, now are you satisfied? And she gave it back to me and just kind of scorned at me and whatnot. And I said, "Oh, okay, all right, thanks." Well, so 10-15 minutes went by, and I was back into the office area, and the administrator came walking by and said, "I looked into that whole magnetizing thing, and it's just nothing but a conspiracy theory, and it's a lie, and this and that, and whatnot. And you need to read it, these stories on the MSM." And my only response was, well, anything that comes out of the MSM is nothing but lies. And so I tend to stay away from those things. And I left it alone. Well, there are two employees that are in the office area that through the last year and a half, as we were going through everything in this nation and in the world, I was sharing with these two, just the truth behind what was really going on. And in the beginning, uh, they thought I was this crazy person, and would always make fun of me and stuff. And I continued to be pretty persistent with them, to the point now where they are actually um they're stronger in their I'm pretty laid back when I share things with people, but these two now are hardcore believers in the whole um you know just that whole I'm trying to use the right words here because I really don't want to be flagged, but they recognize what is happening, and so they are adamantly opposed against the jab. And so 15 more minutes had passed, And all of a sudden, I get this. I don't know if it was a phone call or a text or something. We're kind of on this little, group chat between the three of us, that I've always shared this information. And they said the administrator was just in here and was frantic. Somehow or another, the administrator must have went online or something, typed in the right words, and decided to use a paperclip. And they put the paperclip on where they got the jab at, and sure enough, it stuck. And the administrator was frantic. So the administrator ended up giving, these two friends of mine, the paperclip, and of course it doesn't stick. There was somebody else that was there in the office who had gotten the jab. And so they went over there, they gave the paperclip, they put the paperclip on their arm, and sure enough, it stuck. So now you have this administrator just frantic. They wouldn't drop it. They just, they just kept it going. And what does the administrator say to the two other office workers? Basically said, "Don't you dare tell Jesse this. Don't you dare." Okay. Now, what kind of a spirit is this demonstrating? Okay. We are seeing a spirit, and I was sharing this with the kids this morning. It is likened on to a person walking in the middle of the night by themselves through a graveyard, whistling, to try to convince themselves that, it's not, they're not scared, right? And they're just casually walking through, it's the calm before the storm is what it is. And so I began to study a little bit more. There was a great, and I shared it on Telegram. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, the doctor's name is Doctor, and it's the number 10. And then there is Penny behind that. And I don't want to give this doctor's name all in one, but it's the number 10, and then the change penny after that, and combine those two words, and you've got the doctor's name. Look online or go to Telegram. If you're not on Telegram and you're not sure how to get to join onto Telegram, because we've got a specific page dedicated to things that are the whole jab and everything else. And so it's about 2 hours long. But what this doctor does is goes through just over the past year, and then goes through the jab, talks about the church and the condition of the church, and then also answers questions. But it is done in such a way that is for us, laymen, to understand everything that's being said, everything that's being done. And so basically what's occurring, though, is that there's high concentrations of metals that are in this jab. And that's one of the things when I came into Plexus, one of the things that I heard about was the type of metals that we have in our body, the type of metals that can be in the foods we eat, and even in any of the vaccines or whatever it might be. And so we were trying to flush any of that stuff out of our system. Well, this is high concentrations of metals that are being put within the bodies, and the results from this are staggering. So I ended up watching a few different videos this weekend. There was one video I saw of they were doing the magnet test down in Austin, Texas, just 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. And they ended up going into a little store, and they bought a little magnet from the store, and then they just went out with a camera, and they just started videoing, saying, did anybody get the jab? Does anybody want to try this test? And people were like, freaking out. They couldn't believe what was going on, but yet they were also kind of whistling in the graveyard. They were joking about it, but yet you could see real fear beginning to occur within them. You could see it. Brethren, in the next 6 to 12 months, and what we saw, if you would have went to the CDC site, the VIRS site, within this last week, the number of deaths from this jab have just gone off the charts. They are saying so far there are close to 1,000 miscarriages from this, but that, of course, the numbers are some are saying that it's upwards to 90,000 miscarriages. They are basically in I want to say in Spain and in Russia. They have basically told people that anybody who have gotten the jab, don't fly because of blood clots. So now they're telling people not to fly if they've gotten the jab. It's beginning to slowly fall apart. And when you go on Google and you do a search on this magnet test, of course, there's pretty much one guy who's on there who's making fun of it. And that's, of course, Google to the nth degree. But there are a lot of different videos. There's one woman I saw from Spain or Mexico, one of the countries, or maybe a South American country, and I mean, she had gotten the jab, and I mean, this I don't know if it was a daughter or it was an old woman, and you had a spoon, a scissors, paper clips, cell phones, all of this stuff being stuck to her body. You had another one where there was a TV show going on, a live newscast going on about this magnet test. And the doctor's there and he's making fun about it. And it was in Spanish, so I couldn't understand it. But I kind of read some of the article about it and he's making fun of it. And he said, oh, anybody in the crowd here who's gotten the jab, why don't you come on up and we'll try this? And so they had this little magnet. And so the first guy comes up and takes his shirt off and they put it on his arm and it doesn't stick. And, and the next one, and all of a sudden the third one, and it sticks. And they're like, the doctor was speechless. He goes, I don't know what to say. And then the next one comes up, it sticks. They don't know what to say to this. Well, what's going on? It's the calm before the storm, brethren. The calm before the storm. Things are going to get really, really chaotic. When people's lives are in jeopardy, it is breaking down the immune system, is what it's doing. It is in a form where they are going to try to cover this up as much as possible. We've talked about in the past about the blackout, the internet blackout, and so on. I have a feeling, because we have to understand something here. Okay. Now, how this plays into to President Trump, I mean, we have two waging wars going on. Which one is going to take the victory in this? We have to believe. I continue to hold to the belief that all the reporting that's being done, the election results that they're still doing, they're still counting the ballots and everything else down in Arizona and other states and so on. I mean, we know who won convincingly by millions. As I've said, I mean, it was 90 million to about 20 million is really the reality of it. I mean, you look at Joe's YouTube videos that he's putting out there when he's speaking, you maybe have live views 500 people. How can this with Joe's votes being 90 million have only 500 people or 1,000 people that watch his YouTube videos? I mean, it doesn't add up. And then all of a sudden you get President Trump on there, and I mean, it's 100,000, it's up to 1 million. It's I mean, within minutes. So it just really goes to show what's occurring here. But here's the thing, getting back to this blackout, You've got the globalists are the ones that have in this world the power. They have the money. They have that serpent-like mindset. They control. They're controlling the population. But understand something, brethren, okay? These people are believing it that are getting the jab. They're sheep to the slaughter. It's because of the condition of their heart. They're fallen. They're separated from God. If it were possible, even the deceived, even the elected would be deceived if it were possible. I noticed last week, I don't know, the stress in the spirit is off the charts, and it is only going to increase. But some of the individuals that I follow that do just phenomenal reporting on the jab and on everything that's happened over this past year and a half. They do phenomenal reporting, worldwide reporting on this stuff, and have introduced me to a lot of different things. But I noticed over the past week, questions were coming up on some of the things that they were posting of, I'm tired. Am I really doing enough here? Should I maybe just stop doing this and maybe put it down to a smaller group? All of these things, were going through their minds, and I ended up getting one of them actually messaged me and shared with me, just some of the things that they were going through. So, they were just struggling. So there was major stress in the spirit. And I was speaking to him in the spirit, and I responded back to this. I don't even know where she lives. I want to say maybe Georgia or something like that. And I just responded back to her, and I just blessed her. And I said, remain strong, hold the line. You are doing incredible work. I mean, it is detailed information that these people do. And so, just strengthen them in the spirit. But I'm not answering what I wanted to share with you here, but here's the thing. So you have two opposing sides going at it. This blackout that we've heard about, where the internet will be shut down, and all these different things will be shut down. Who's going to take the victory in this? Will the globalists take the victory in it? Or will President Trump be able to take the victory in this? The tech people in Silicon Valley, they have the brilliance to be able to do what they can to take control of President Trump's. I mean, it's gonna have to be the Lord. But here's one thought, and I don't know. And this is something, brethren, I'm sharing this because we are a ministry that stands in the gap for this nation, but not only this nation, for this world. So this is one possibility that could happen, that we need to be standing in the gap for. This blackout that could possibly could occur because when people begin to start just dying left and right, the narrative is going to be that it's COVID related, not jab related. Okay? Because what it's doing is it's breaking down the immune system. But see, these whole magnet tests and everything else that are, brethren, let me tell you what happened. I ended up sharing a couple of these videos. And I shared that link on Telegram, and it was on revolver.com. And so I shared that. Well, I had shared it texting, because you can't, in Messenger and other, you can't share certain stuff. And I believe it was that particular one, but I was sharing this through texting, and I shared it with my brother, and I shared it with a few others. I ended up having to make a call within the first 5 minutes, and my phone just went funky. I mean, it just started acting up. I couldn't get it to call out. There was someone trying to call me. The voice was screwed up. My texting, there was just things that were happening. And so I had to reboot my phone to be able to make it work. So if you don't think that all of this stuff is part of that, testing of the blackout, see, that's the thing that is happening here. We have the Instagram, we have the Facebook, we have the Snapchat, we have texting, we have all these different things occurring. But there's going to come a day when these elites are going to attempt to black us out from reporting any of this information. So we need to be aware of that. We need to be praying against it and breaking that technological satanic working. Because we know, brethren, when there is high witchcraft going on in the spirit, one of the things that occurs is our plumbing systems goes in the haywire. Our toilets end up backing up, pipes break, all sorts of different stuff. But also we know, brethren, through history, technology, our phones, our computer systems, all sorts of different stuff. We had Brooke this past week who ended up doing a Zoom call and sharing a message. And of course, the computer, never before. Computer started acting up, couldn't go through the computer, had to go through the phone instead. Okay. And then when Brooke was attempting to share information, she was attacked so strongly in her mind to be able to get this message out. Brethren, this is the kind of warfare. She had never experienced anything like this. See, she entered into a whole new realm of, when you get into a teaching spirit. My lights are flickering right now. I mean, every time we get kind of into a spiritually talking about this, I mean, just things occur. And this is, that energy, that satanic energy that affects these kind of things. And so we have to be standing to block this, So God is doing an incredible work, but stay faithful, stay strong, recognize what is occurring. But the fear, and this is some of the things that we are being touched by. The fear is going to be off the charts. The scripture makes it very clear that people are going to be committing suicide just simply because the fear is too great. The amount this doctor shared, this doctor's from Ohio, and shared about the suicide rate among youth over the past year because of all the restrictions, lockdown restrictions. I mean, this doctor made such a good point. You took the livelihood away from these little children, the experiences of a little boy walking up to a little girl and pulling her ponytail. When she made that comment, it was almost like a reality slap. Like, wow. I mean, just even those little moments, those experiences of training a young child of how to be respectful and this and that, they missed a year. They missed a year being closed in, especially in the major cities. We see one little girl, she's probably 10 to 12 years old. They're still, the school, I'm not sure where it was, where they're still wearing masks. And their air conditioning units weren't working in the classrooms, and it was 95 degrees in the classroom, and they had to wear this mask. And the student, this little girl said, "I'm done. This is harmful to my health. I'm not wearing it anymore." And she was kicked out of school for doing it. And she says, "Fine, I'm done." And basically, the teachers, where they were at, they had air conditioning in their offices, and that's where they were sitting at. And of course, she said, "You guys sit in your offices, and you don't have to wear your masks, And I've seen you guys talking to each other, not wearing your masks, but yet you tell us to wear ours, And she says, "I'm done with it." People are rising up, and you see this great divide occurring. We see the passports that are happening. I look at that, these jab passports, and I look at that and I go, you know what? It's not going to be long lasting. I don't see it. there's that point of view, because people are going to awake to the reality unless they do the blackout in some form or another. Somehow they got to stop us from spreading the truth, you know, because what they're going to end up saying is that it's going to be, well, we got a different strain of it now, and so now we really got to go on lockdown, and now you really need to have these passports, these jab passports. you know this is what they're going to try to spread as people begin to die left and right. It's a new strain, that's exactly what they're going to do. And we see that. This doctor also talked about the J&J jab, and said that actually the J&J jab's even worse than the other ones, because of the protein that's within it and what it's causing. And of course, all these jabs are coming out, and they're basically going to make this jab now the annual flu jab, is what they're doing. We have universities. St. Louis University is now another university that is basically requiring you to have the jab to be able to go to the university. So it's happening all over the place, this great narrative, but the people are blind. But I will say this to you. There is, and I want to leave on a positive note in this exhortation, there is a people within the church that are being awakened. Now, I had an incredible experience this past week, and last week I left you with the sharing with you that I'd be going up to this retirement service of my old pastor from whatever it was, 25 years ago or so, and I was going to go up there, and I was asked to come and speak at it, and the Lord saw that I shouldn't go. And but one of the things that I want to share with you is what occurred from the discussion that I had with this woman that had invited me up there to be one of the speakers. So this person has become just distraught over the condition and the handling that the church, did with everything that's happened in the past year and a half. Could not believe that the church, that's supposed to be this lighthouse, this strong tower, this force to reckon with, became weak, bowed its knee, and allowed themselves to be shut down. And there is this, and I forget the term for this, but there's a video out there, and this doctor actually shared it. And there was thousands of people. They're at this music festival, and there were thousands of people there, and they're all just sitting there. But there was one guy who was standing there, and he began to dance, and he was a fruitcake. People were laughing at him, thought it was crazy, but he was just dancing all around, dancing around, and everybody was laughing at him. Everybody was laughing at him, and all of a sudden, a second person came in and started to dance with them. And the mindset changed. As soon as that second person came in and started dancing, the third person came in. And then from there, everybody stood up and started to dance. When you have the numbers, when you make your stand, things happen. Things change. And the church failed. The denominational church failed. But there are people that are being awakened. I had the opportunity to share the doctrine of Christ with this woman. I shared with her about the Trinity. See, this woman had asked a question. And the question was, what was it? What doctrine, what teaching did you first realize was questionable with where you were, that took you out of the church setting? And I went, and I responded, I go, wow. I go, you are asking a question that's going to require a very, very strong response. And I said, get ready, here it is. And I said, there were two things. I said, number one, Christmas and how it's idolatry, it's pagan, and there is no room for it with those who serve Jesus. I said, number two was the Trinity. And I explained those two, and I kind of shared what I had learned. And then, I wasn't getting a response back. And I said, are you still there? And the response was, I have come to learn in this past year that I don't know what's true anymore. Everything that I thought was once true, I now am questioning. So this is what has occurred. Those that are called, where that spirit is within them, that's the magnet pole. See, you have the two. It's literally it's like the pole, the magnetic poles, right? This is literally what's occurring. We have the magnetic poles occurring in the spirit. And you have a magnetic pull of the Father drawing his Son back to himself, and those that have that within them, within this season right now, can't deny it, because the questions Jesus is giving them the questions within their heart. They're tapping in to Christ within them, and their questions are coming. I mean, we've all had it. We've all had questions come out of nowhere. It's like, where would a question like that come from? It's because the Lord is tapping into us. Well, the same thing is happening on the other side. You have this magnetic shifting of the poles, where you have people that are so easily deceived, but they're filled with fear. So that's the question. It's like, now you've got this paperclip, you've got these metals that are sticking to your body. How do you justify that? The government that you're trusting in, that serpentine government that you're trusting in, how are you going to justify that now in your mind? There was another woman who was standing, it looked like, before a Senate hearing. And she said, I was just on break and I heard something about this magnetic test. And she goes, and I want to show you something. And she literally reaches up, takes a key, and sets it on her chest, and it sticks to her chest. There was a woman that was sitting on her back left shoulder, and she just was shocked. I mean, she's like, what in the world just happened here? She couldn't believe it. She couldn't rationalize it in her mind. But this lady who put a magnet on her chest said, could someone explain this to me? She goes, it sticks on my neck too. Can someone explain this to me? It was just a short little clip. Now you've got people who trusted the government, who trusted the medical field. Now they're being awoken. What's going to happen with them? I don't know. I don't know how the Lord is going to deal with them. I have to believe, because the Lord is merciful. We know that the Lord can heal. We know that the Lord can take any magnet, any type of jab that's within your system. We have to believe that God can heal you. A miracle can occur. And maybe there's a possibility when we enter into that spiritual realm where we receive that overcoming spirit, where we enter into that realm where we'll have the power through Christ to bring forth miracles and healings. Maybe that's, when those type of people that have been awakened, even after getting the jab, will receive miracles. And those that are continue to remain deceived and they basically give into their fear, they'll continue to get more and more aggressive. Now, there's one other thing I want to share with you, and this is the type of spirit that we are experiencing. So I had the I'll just say this. I had the law enforcement send me, trying to bring it up here, send me this past week a prayer request. They're dealing with people up in the pipeline that's just north of us, these protesters. Um, and I want to read to you one of these protesters' posts. And this is what it said: "To those offended by our far left post, we thought you knew." And it's Camp Mijizi, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, is a young indigenous-led, mostly queer anarchist camp. We adore the ideals of anarcho-syndicalism and anarcho-communism, recognizing that the future will be led by neither capitalism, communism, or any current political stance. The future is indigenous. The future is queer. And we are here to build a solid foundation that the children of the eighth fire will build upon. We will not be peace policed, and we answer to no one here in the now, as our oaths and promises were made to generations not yet here. If you want to tokenize the noble savage and peaceful Indians you see painted on the dream catchers and casino gift shops, you have come to the wrong place. This is right here a mindset that is so far gone. This is the type of legion, okay, filled individual. And those that are so deceived, this is the magnetic pole that they're going to. You know, the CDC put out this spoof a year or two ago about the zombie apocalypse. I'm telling you, brethren, this right here, that is the spirit of the zombie apocalypse. They will not be, any type of law enforcement, any type of law and order, they will not obey. They will not follow it. We see all over this nation, all over this world. I saw down in Georgia, you know what they're offering down in Georgia now? Those that are in jail, that are incarcerated, if they receive the jab, they'll have early parole. That's the insanity, the evil that we see occurring. This is that type of spirit that we are coming in contact with. And the evil is just getting worse and worse and worse. So, brethren, it is so vitally, vitally important. Once again, we have to be bringing all of our sin before the Lord and dealing with it. We have to be willing when we are getting correction. And brethren, let me explain to you the correction that I received this past week. So, as you know from last week's testimony, I had shared with you that I had received about 4 weeks back a flyer in the mail to attend my old pastor's retirement celebration. And so I had felt strongly led in the spirit to go to that retirement party. And I felt the pull to it. Well, then I felt in my spirit that I was going to be speaking there. And I didn't know how it was going to occur. And all of a sudden, this woman reached out to me who was leading on basically the board of this, a planner, reached out to me and was making me one of the guest speakers, one of the last speaker to speak there. And so I felt, okay, this is, I'm going to be able to share. Hopefully, I wasn't going there because of the whole retirement thing. I was going there because is there somebody there that might need to hear the doctrine of Christ? Well, here's where it went wrong. And this comes down, brethren, this comes down to all of us. This is the mistakes that we make that can literally bring us under judgment. What I had done is I had not went to Pastor Vitale to ask her what her thoughts were on this. I had immediately made that decision. Now, brethren, listen to me. This is not about going into a store and saying, should I get this type of ketchup or that kind of ketchup? Maybe I'll call my pastor and ask what kind of ketchup I get. No, 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 no. I'm not talking about those kind of moments, okay? But when we have instances, when we're going to be going into a church service, another church, okay, when we have certain situations that occur that could affect us positively or negatively, okay, something that can shift, okay, the the line that we are walking down, that can shift that timeline, okay. And this is something we need to pray about. I had not gone to pastor and asked pastor. Now, every week I speak to Pastor Sheila, and in those weeks I had attempted to share that with her, but we would start talking about other stuff and then I would forget about it. And I thought, okay, well, I'll do it next week, right? So I would focus on the following week when we had, another conversation or whatever, I would bring it up. Well, here's the thing, and this is where the deception of the mind comes in. There were moments when I was pricked in the heart where the Lord said, just send her a telegram and let her know. Ask her what her thoughts are on it. Send her a text. And I didn't do it. I said, when I talk to her again next time, I'll do it. I'm too busy right now. I don't want to do it. And I ignored it. Okay. And then last week, I think it was Tuesday night, I'm speaking to her on the phone. And I said, hey, I wanted to let you know what's going to be happening. I was invited up to speak, and I kind of shared the whole thing. And I said, do you have any thoughts on that? Pastor Sheila says, well, it sounds like you've already made up your mind. Why are you asking me for? Do you see what happened, brethren? I had already made the decision to go to the service. And then I explain it to her, and I end it by saying, what do you think? Do you see the pride in it? Do you see where I took authority? Do you see where I took headship? Where I became the pastor in it? See? So what did pastor do? Pastor responds back by saying, it sounds like you've already made a decision. As soon as she said that, praise God, but there was enough of me that recognized my dilemma. And there was enough of humility that rose up within me that said, wow, I'm in the wrong here. I would like to hear your thoughts on this. And so she responded back and she says, okay, I'll give you my thoughts on this. And she shared with me and said, you rose up in pride. This is what occurred. And I knew it. I mean, as soon as it broke, I knew it. And all she was doing was just confirming what was already in my spirit. Brethren, this is what we do. And this is the type of confession that needs to occur, that leads to repentance, that can draw us out of those situations that can be detrimental to our growth in the Lord. And so she says, well, it sounds like you've already made a decision. It sounds like you're already, on the, as the speaker, they've already got you down. And I said, no. I said, no. I said, I'm going to call him. I'm going to let him know that I'm not going to do it. I'm going to back out from it. See, brethren, I was so convicted in the spirit. I didn't care what they had. I didn't care what they were going to say. I don't care how upset they were going to be with me by backing out, because they were so thrilled that I would be coming up and I would be speaking. They had said to me that nothing had come together, but as soon as I said that I would be going up there and I would be speaking, they said everything came together. See, it appears like it's of the Lord. See, you can use Bible verses. I'm going to speak the doctrine of Christ to them. See, it all looks like it's God. But there were certain steps that were missed through the process. That's how easily we can be deceived. That's the reality of why we are still in the garden. We are the female that is so easily twisted and deceived by the serpent in the garden. And so I told Pastor, I said, no, this is what I'm going to do. And I don't care what the results are from them. I don't care what kind of, if they're upset with me, no matter how much witchcraft they throw at me, as long as I'm going to be obedient to the Lord and learn my lesson, I would rather do that than have them say whatever they're going to say about me. And so I responded back to this woman, and the Lord had mercy. And the Lord used that testimony, that when this woman responded back and she says, wow, she goes, that is incredible that you responded this way. Then she began to share with me, because she's not a part of this church. She's not a part of this pastor's church who's retiring. But she was there when I was there 25 years ago. And so she wanted to honor him. So what does she do? She goes, I sometimes question that as well, that if I should have even been on this board to planning for this retirement. That's where the whole conversation went into. And it opened up a discussion for her to hear about the doctrine of Christ. And now she's wanting to get together. My daughter and her daughter are friends. And I invited her and her daughter and her husband. I said, you guys are welcome to come down. I can certainly sit and we can share with you, the doctrine of Christ. And she's excited, and she's trying to figure out a time that they can come down to hear about the doctrine of Christ. So, brethren, you see what occurs here. You see what God does. This is the type of obedience that is required of us, where we think that, things would appear to be of God, when in fact they might not be. We have to constantly be testing. We have to be open for correction. Brethren, I could have just as easily just kept it silent, but I want to be covered in prayer. I am going up to a church that preaches hell, Trinity, virgin birth, rapture, all sorts of different stuff. And if I would have went up there, who knows what could have happened to me? The judgment that I could have came under. But the Lord was merciful enough to save me from that situation. This is the type and degree that we need to enter into, where if we do something wrong, or if we're in a situation where it could go either way, we have to humble ourselves and ask the Lord, is there any truth in what Pastor is saying? Is my heart being unchecked here? If I have to change this decision, are you willing to change the decision? If you've invested money into something and God has said, I never told you to do that, and that's really difficult to do, and you have to drop it and leave it alone, and if you lose something on it, that might be part of your judgment. If you buy something that you regretted buying and the Lord told you never to buy it, are you willing to at least admit it, that you were wrong? And try to get the training and the understanding and the teaching. Brethren, that's why it is so important to have the elders in this ministry, to have our pastor in this ministry. Because if we don't have that within us, and that's the whole sad truth within the church today. Number one, they don't have the pastors that are willing to take the stand. There are very, very few pastors, and the majority of the pastors are pretty much all women. They might have a little bit of manhood in certain things, okay? But then there are other things that they just lack. This is what we see occurring. But if the Lord calls you to a ministry and you're in that ministry, then you submit to that ministry. And you give your pastor, you give your elders the benefit of the doubt, and you wait upon the Lord for the answers. But if the pastor says something and you say, well, I've submitted to this ministry, and if something's wrong, please correct me. Please correct pastor. Please do something. But I'm going to give my pastor the benefit of the doubt, and this is the route that I'm going to go on. See, we have to. That's the whole submitting ourselves one to another, submitting to the headship within the church. The church doesn't have it today. That's why the church is in the condition that they're in. They're running around in adultery, spiritual idolatry, spiritual fornication, all of these different things. So we need to humble ourselves. We need to cry out to God that He would save us. So let me just pray here, and then we'll get started on the message here for about a half an hour. Father, I just pray. I pray over the brethren in this ministry. I pray for those that are watching online, Lord, and I pray for those that are called by your name. Lord, humble us. Let us have ears to hear. Let us seek you in all things. Let us know you. Father, reveal within us those hidden things that separate us from you. We pray, Father, for the spirit of confession, spirit of repentance. Give us strength, O God, to overcome these things. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, brethren, I'm going to be coming back on here in a minute, and we'll start a new message, so hold tight.